Hi, Sharon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Is this Blake?
This is Brian.
Brian, okay, what's going on?
Oh man, just hoping this technology comes through.
What happened?
There we go. We got Blake in. Can you hear us, Blake?
I can. I'm sorry about that. I was having Teams was crashing on me for some reason. So here I am.
All good. Glad you got in.
Yeah, forgive me. I'm in day 4 of COVID with the family, so I've got a 3-year-old attending this with me. So
Uh,
No
we
problem,
did
Blake.
that
Glad you're
back in
okay and glad you
February.
made it in. Yeah.
yeah.
This kind of stuff happens, but you're now in your room. Brian's in there. And
Yep.
so far we haven't had anybody join us, huh, Brian?
Correct.
Okay.
I would hope this one's going to be uneventful considering y'all got West Airport and the other big sexy ones on here. So let's hope so. This little old road in the middle of Aldine that hasn't been built in 50 years, I hopefully nobody bothers with it. So
We will see. We will see, Blake. We'll see on that.
I'm
But
sure crazier things have happened.
I am going to bounce around and I'll come back to you guys. Hopefully, we may have some idle time, and if you do, just wait until somebody joins us. It's
Will
like a
do.
real open house. If you were in an open room, people come, they ask questions or not.
I got it. Yeah, it's just a first for me, but I understand the format now, so I'll camp out here. I'm in now, so I'm not leaving.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna
All
bounce
righty.
around.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Uh, hey, shh. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you? It's Lloyd Smith from Harris County and the Planning Commission. So this
All
is
right.
the West Road proposal on the east side of Hardy, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry I missed whatever version of your show you gave earlier. We participated a little earlier today in a discussion, so I've hit one of the other applications that took up some time in that. Wanted to stop by and say hello and perhaps chat a bit about options that you may see here.
Great. Is there any particular portions that you'd like to discuss, or anything outside the proposal or the application already that's in there?
I put up a map, or if you have slides or something. I think there's a few things that came up today that I could just share with you. I think most of them were in the areas of options or observations. This is a challenging one from several perspectives. One that none of us were alive to create, and that's the fact that this area has so few east-west roads. It's hard to let go of one that exists, even if on paper, in the sense that it's at least a strategy that was put in place some time ago to try to create east-west connectivity where we have so little. That said, the discussion points we had earlier today were sympathetic to the challenges that you've presented here for these impacted property owners. This is not particularly helpful or useful or even practical in any way for their
Right.
their use of these properties.
Right. I think it's important to note that this area is developed pretty well without all around it, for that matter. And many of the property owners, specifically the two that joined up with us in this application, Mr. Thomas and Mr. Rodriguez, they didn't even know the MTFP was even a thing. I was vaguely aware of it, and I certainly have become even more familiar with it as well through this process. So they're kind of like, oh yeah, we want to get rid of that and take that out. And what if your sentiments regarding east to west connectivity were echoed by I forget who it was that I spoke with early on. I believe it was somewhere in the permitting office, and maybe it trickled from engineering as well. But it's just, this area is such an older area that hopefully it can be seen as not being necessary and not completely obliterating the usefulness of these properties.
Right.
But you should be able to see my screen right now.
I can.
Okay. All right. So that's a general map of the impacted properties and the properties that I represent. So 14206 Luth LLC, that's my company. Boyer Properties is the general partner of that, or excuse me, I take that wrong. Parcel A, lot 110 and lot 111 is actually owned by Luth LP, and Luth LP is the company, the entity that my company is the general partner of. Parcel B and Parcel C are Mr. Thomas and Mr. Rodriguez's lot. We actually purchased our parcel from Mr. Thomas. He has a presence in the area of several properties that he owns in the area, and he was more than willing to jump on board with this.
I got it.
So this is a rehash of our of the application and everything of how the property would be affected in relation to the detention requirements of Harris County, as well as the remainders that would be left on our parcel to the north and south of the proposed Pinafore alignment. I did the math in there, rough math of what we would be left with, which is not a whole lot. More importantly, I think our lender would have a serious problem with this as well if it has to go the distance. So we haven't even crossed that bridge yet. I'd hope rather not to, in all honesty.
Let me, before you leave the picture with
yeah.
the detention pond.
Yes.
This is pretty straightforward to check with land contours. I know that to the south of this is a tributary to Greens Bayou that kind of goes east and west in a zigzag pattern, and then Greens Bayou and perhaps other tributaries to it are the north. Do have you done some basic surveying or any engineering work of note to know that that's the right location for the detention pond on
It
the
is,
likely
as a matter of fact.
location?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, the lower right-hand portion about here is slightly impacted by a floodplain, and that floodplain actually flows in this direction. We have everything is all but approved through Harris County, save and except for plating, which was held up by this plan. So I have
I
a
got
full engineered and comments received back from you guys. We've gone through 2 rounds of comments, I believe, with the final commenting being plating and the right of way. So
Okay.
we had RCB box culvert conveying and mitigating the floodplain risk and taking the water from this corner into our required detention area, as well as underground storm sewers that are joining into that box culvert or another trunk line this way into our detention area. So yes, sir, we've got drawings done on
Okay,
this.
well, I was thinking you were at near the starting line, and you're much closer to the finish line then.
Oh yeah. I'm waiting to put a toe across. I'm just waiting on the word. Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to keep on
No,
going?
that's all that came up
Okay.
with that exhibit.
All right. Would you like me to continue on through here?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. So parcel B is Mr. Thomas, and like I said, parcel C is Mr. Rodriguez. Both of them are established businesses. I'm under the impression that neither one of them operate the businesses there. They're just landlords, is the way I understand it. Various businesses, tow yards, and things of that nature. But nonetheless, they are viable businesses that have been there for several years. So as you can tell with that layout or approximate layout, they would pretty much be, parcel C would pretty much be taken out, and parcel B would be pretty adversely affected by the time the actual right of way, that 100-foot right of way, is put in there.
Right.
And even more so so these properties border Reeveston to the right, which is right here off map here. Even more so, there's fully developed parcels to the east that are going to take out some well-established buildings as well as residences also. And I think the bigger issue here is, I don't know if I have a map in here. Oh, these are all my letters of support from all the surrounding property owners. The road actually goes to the east and then takes a sharp turn to the south and dead ends to
Right.
another existing road. So I don't think you gain a whole lot by adding this, I guess, for lack of a better word, by having this
Right.
road here.
Right.
You
Yeah,
have,
I don't remember all the road names, but this alignment of West Road does connect up in a somewhat logical way across Hardy to other sections of West Road. For the most part, it makes sense through about Luthi, and then from Luthi beyond, what you're describing is what I remember. It crosses either 3 or 4 north-south streets, and then
yep.
turns into a minor collector that bends down and hits
Yeah, it hits a dead end.
Otter, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds correct. Forgive me for not
Yeah,
having this
that was an
date.
amendment to the Thoroughfare plan that was an adjustment about 5 years ago related to some flood control work there. There's a
Okay.
large detention basin underway. So one of the other realities of this West Road alignment that the county who I work for has inherited is inherent in this whole West Road scheme is that there's going to be planning and funding and right-of-way acquisition and everything else to create a new bridge across the Hardy and the railroad corridor for this to serve as a major thoroughfare. So one of my comments today to the city staff was we've already downgraded, in their jargon, that one tail section that connects to Lauder. Now we have a major thoroughfare designation through your clients, your property and these others. That's all dependent on a bridge that isn't on the county's current radar. And
Yeah.
Absent that bridge, the highest classification of major thoroughfare makes little sense, even if you do greatly value the idea of the connectivity there. In other words, I opened up the city staff and asked them to put their thinking caps on to say, the value of east-west connectivity being created in this area is real, and in a regional planning or a strategic point of view over many years and decades of development and redevelopment. The fact that so many of these property owners, both residential and commercial, have to go down and turn on and off of Aldine Mail Route or Aldine Bender to just get around is not ideal. But that has to be balanced against what you've persuasively shown as a very difficult impact to your property and the adjacent ones.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I'm wondering if you've had the opportunity, or there's any been discussions amongst you, or we've got a pretty strong letter of support, or at least a commitment of support, I guess is a better way to put it, from Precinct 2.
Right.
They were one of the first
I
ones
took
we
note of
stepped
that, and
Okay.
along the way, typically here in the engineering department, we between now and the approach of the commission's action that comes a little later, we'll shore up a briefing, give other facts of how this thing has evolved. But as of today, I guess I'd give you the position that the reasons that you got support from Precinct 2 and why there's interest in this is clearly this is not a particularly fair application of the major thoroughfare designation or productive one, in the sense that it's hard to put a straight face on a statement to say, oh, this major thoroughfare is coming and we need to preserve this right away in exactly this alignment. But that said, what I've challenged the staff to do is put their thinking caps on and see within the general vicinity here, either maybe along the edges of some of these properties or in a path that's nearby that involves some other properties, is there an alignment that could be identified that has less severe impacts than this diagonal impact, that somehow gets the planning map to preserve some sort of east-west connection in this area? And there's complications. Even if there was a clear path, it runs into some procedural challenges to do that. But that's what I asked them to do, and Sharon Moses Brown, or Moses
Burnside, you burn your side.
Burnside. It begins with a B, yes. Who has joined us, agreed that they'll scratch their heads, look at some maps, and we've traded some ideas as to what might be an alternate, or I guess it would be a supplement to your request that could be considered by the Planning Commission, and that'll require some coordination that's underway. But I'll stop there. That's kind of where we stand as of today, after me participating in a couple of meetings.
Okay. All right.
Did I misstate anything there, Sharon?
No, actually, you spoke it quite
Other
well.
than your name?
Other than my name. But no, it's we are looking at a possible alternative. We don't know what that alternative will be. But Blake, we are considering some options in that area, because we do understand your position, and I agree, like Lloyd, you just made a very strong case. So we are looking to see how we can best benefit the developer, the property owners, and of course, the city. And we will be getting in touch with you soon to look at some other options.
Great. Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to bounce off and go to another room. If
All
you
right,
guys,
Sharon, just real quick as a side, I've hit the West Road, the Louetta, and the Kingwood group. Any others that you'd like me to pop in? That I don't think there's any others with a particular county interest, but any others that I benefit from hearing the story?
these are, you're looking at your ETJs, which are great for Harris County, but just because Harris County and the city of Houston share some spaces together, Lord, if you have time, if you can just look at some areas that are city of Houston related, maybe not so much strongly Harris County.
Okay,
but
well, I
some
got a few more
other
minutes.
areas.
I'll pop into Fondren and a couple others then.
I appreciate that. Always appreciate your input. It's very knowledgeable, and we use it all the time when we make our decisions. So thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Mhm.
And Blake, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Blake, I'm going to another room. Y'all good?
All right. We'll sit
All
tight. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. Sharon just joined too.
Yes. Trying to see how it's
Got
going.
good
for you.
ones.
Great. Everything okay over here, Blake? You getting questions?
It is. We just had these folks come in along with you, Sharon. So how can I answer your questions, or if y'all have any questions for me? What would you
Have
like to
you had
know?
a chance to present the presentation to them? Sometimes you have to re-show the presentation for those that haven't seen.
I have not yet, actually. So actually, I don't have the presentation up. I have my application up that I was discussing with the previous with Mr. Smith of Harris County. So
I've got the presentation. It should be pulling up momentarily.
there we go. All right. There we go. So what I'm seeking for is removal of what is known to most folks in the neighborhood, me as Pinafore Lane, but known by others as West Road because it is named West Road on the MTFP on the west side of the Hardy Toll Road. So we can go to the next slide. Location is in the Aldine area. It's just south of Aldine Bender along Luth Road. The specific segment I'm seeking removal of is from the east side of Luth Road to the west side of Reeveston Road. I actually represent myself as the property owner on the portion that abuts Luth Road, and then I represent two other property owners that you see it passing through here when it takes a diagonal to the south. It's two separate property owners there as well. Once this process was started, I was speaking with them, and they said, "Hey, we'd like to join up and join forces to hopefully get this thing removed from our property as well." So, on behalf of them, I present this. I'm doing this presentation. Next slide, please. So, like I was just saying, Parcel A is my property. Parcel B and Parcel C are the property owners to the east of me. They access their road off of Reeveston Road. As you can see with my property, it would by the time I include development of detention and some other items in that area, it would take out a big chunk of my property, leaving me with about 1.5 acres to the north and 1.1 acres to the south of developed property out of what is currently 5.25 acres by the time I include detention and everything in there. Parcel B would be adversely affected to the point that it would probably greatly diminish by the time that right of way is going to be 100 foot. By the time you put 100 foot right of way through there, it's going to greatly diminish the west portion of that property. And in my opinion, Parcel C is going to be pretty much obliterated if that road were to ever be built. If it was decided to be built one day. Next slide. I think that may be almost it, if I'm mistaken. This goes to what I was referring to about my property that would be left to be developed if the road was to be left in place. As you can see, the proposed Pinafore Lane alignment in yellow, it's about 1.1 acres is what it would take across my property. And then to the south, it would leave me with 1.179 acres, and to the north, 1.344 acres. By the time I do the required detention area that is in drawings that have already been all but approved by Harris County, because we're waiting on this right-of-way issue resolved, that would take up 1.829 acres. So it's going to leave me with about 2.5 acres left in separate parcels. That's not what this property was purchased for or intended for. It's also going to be tough to get the lender to buy off on that. Let's go to the next slide, whatever's left. This is more of the zoomed in of Parcel B and C that would be taken out by those. I believe the dimensions of them are obviously considerably skinnier. If I can pull up to find my dimensions on those. I believe Parcel B and C are about 165 feet wide, meaning tall in reference to this drawing. So from north to south, they're each about 165 feet wide. So by the time you include 100-foot right-of-way through there, they're going to be severely diminished, if not, like I said, Parcel C completely taken out. Go to the next slide, please. This goes to the area map. You can see with parcel A, B, and C identified in there. Excuse me. With it jogging to the south, and then you can see the route that they intend on continuing all the way to where it turns into a minor collector. There is quite a bit of established businesses and residents that are going to be taken out by this road if it were to continue or be allowed to put in. So in my opinion, to preserve the area, and an area that has east to west connectivity and some other things, I've asked for this road to be removed from the MTFP and the portions that affects parcel A, B, and C. Are there any more slides? That's the scaled map that shows more of the same. And then this shows that I'm asking for the deletion of that thoroughfare from those properties. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
No, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
Good as well.
Thank you.
Great job, Blake. Great job, Brian. And that is exactly why we send the PDFs to the support group. Thank you for jumping right in.
I appreciate it. No problem. The engineer was on board with the with my my application. He was, we were able to chat in specifics. So yeah, I didn't realize I didn't have it up. It's been a week, so.
No worries, no worries. I hope you're staying safe and taking care of yourself. And
Oh, I am. It's tough to talk in long terms like that, so I have to break for water and coughing. So.
Stay safe, but be careful. And we're working with you to do this,
Yep.
come up with the
I
best
appreciate it.
option. So good job.
That's great.
I'm gonna go to another room.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Excellent, excellent. Just what we needed.
No problem.
Hey guys, touching base. Everything okay?
Yeah, it's been quiet since that last group was in here with you, Sharon.
Okay, good. We're almost to the home stretch. We've 7:22. We've got 8 more minutes. And
Cool.
after this, when it hits 7:30, you guys can just check out. No need to return to the main room.
Gotcha.
And want to make sure that Blake, you take care of yourself and get ready for that public hearing. Okay.
Will do. We'll sit
Thank you,
tight.
Sharon.
Thank you. Well, Brian, we're about ready to call this thing done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's
Alright.
time to sign off. Have a good evening, Blake.
I
Hope you feel
appreciate
better
your
soon.
help. You have a good one. Thank you.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye-bye.